On this 2015 to 2025 F150 with the 2.7 EcoBoost, P0011 is a Bank 1 intake cam timing performance code. In plain terms, the PCM is seeing the intake cam timing over-advanced or staying advanced when it should not. The truck may have a rough idle, reduced performance, or an intermittent check engine light. Broadly, this can involve cam position input, VCT oil control, oil flow or pressure, the VCT solenoid, or the phaser side of the timing system. For this code, stay on the functional VCT timing path. Do not treat it like a solenoid control circuit code unless the testing sends you there. Start with the basic system checks, then follow a structured diagnostic approach. Before you get deep into the P0011 VCT test, check whether any camshaft position sensor codes are present. If they are, handle those first. If there are no cam sensor codes, continue with the VCT functional diagnosis for P0011. Also, do not install parts just because the code is present. This path only calls for parts after the checks point there. For P0011, the first active check is VCT operation. Connect any disconnected VCT solenoid connectors. Turn the ignition on, start the engine, and monitor the Bank 1 intake VCT actual and difference PIDs. VCT INT Act 1 in degrees and VCT INT Diff 1 in degrees. Drive the vehicle and exercise the throttle enough to make the VCT system move. Some vehicles need more RPM and load than others before the VCT system reacts. While you are doing that, watch for VCT movement and watch the error or difference PID. The difference PID should stay close to 0, although it can move briefly during fast cam timing changes. If the cam timing PID shows VCT movement and the difference PID stays close to 0, the concern cannot be duplicated at that moment. The procedure treats that as a possible oil flow restriction that may have cleared while the VCT system was operated. Clear the PCM codes and repeat the self-test. If that result is not there, branch by the idle condition. If the engine runs rough at idle and KOER or continuous memory codes are present, go to the debris clearing test. For the other cases, move into the functional VCT system check. In the functional VCT check, stay with the suspect VCT solenoid for the current code. For P0011, monitor VCT INT Act 1 in degrees. Turn the ignition off, disconnect the related VCT solenoid, start the engine, and record the PID value at idle. Then use a 5-amp fused jumper wire at the component side connector for the DTC indicated solenoid. On this engine, the listed connector set includes C1542, C1369, C1370, and C1625, using pin 1 and pin 2 on the component side. The exact connector must match the solenoid indicated by the current DTC. If that connector identification is not clear, pause, recheck the earlier diagnostic path, and do not guess before powering the solenoid. After the functional actuation, record the PID value again at idle. If the VCT actual, intake actual, or exhaust actual PID shows VCT movement of 20 degrees or more, the concern is not present at that time. Clear the PCM codes and repeat the self-test. If movement is less than that, continue to the debris clearing step. The next step is an attempt to clear debris from the suspect VCT solenoid. Again, do not install a component unless the test directs it. For P0011, monitor VCT INT Act 1 in degrees. Start the engine and record the idle PID value. Use the 5-amp fused jumper wire at the correct component side solenoid connector for the current DTC. Quickly connect and disconnect the jumper wire to the negative battery terminal at least 20 times within 20 seconds. Then connect the jumper to the negative battery terminal and leave it connected, and record the PID value at idle. If the VCT actual, intake actual, or exhaust actual PID now shows VCT movement of 20 degrees or more, the concern is not present at that time and may have been cleared by operating the system. Clear the PCM codes and repeat the self-test. If it still does not move 20 degrees or more, continue to the base engine oil pressure check. Next, turn the ignition off and reconnect the VCT solenoid related to the current code. Check base engine oil pressure using the engine oil pressure test. If there is an oil pressure concern, repair that concern as needed, clear the PCM codes, and repeat the self-test. If base oil pressure checks out with no concern, Move on to a direct VCT solenoid functionality check. For the direct solenoid check, turn the ignition off, disconnect the related VCT solenoid, and remove that solenoid. Use a 5-amp fuse jumper wire with the correct component side connector and pins for the solenoid being tested. While holding the solenoid, quickly connect and disconnect the jumper wire to the negative battery terminal. You should be able to feel the VCT solenoid plunger vibration by hand when the jumper is connected. Repeat as needed to verify operation. If the plunger activates, the test points to installing a new VCT phaser as necessary, then clearing the PCM codes and repeating the self-test. If the plunger does not activate, the test points to installing a new variable camshaft timing solenoid, then clearing the PCM codes and repeating the self-test. Keep verifications separate from the testing. Anytime the path says the concern is not present or after an oil pressure repair, phaser repair, or VCT solenoid repair, clear the PCM codes and repeat the self-test. The takeaway is simple. P0011 is a command versus response VCT timing problem. So prove cam movement, prove the error PID behavior, check for oil flow and oil pressure issues, and only replace a component when the test points there. For more diagnostic training, visit stepdiagnostics.com.